or some other sort of droppings. But to date, I haven't. There is in Slovakia a site where in 1663 a large circular device crashed into one of the mountains in the High Tatras, and some of the villagers eventually went up there and brought pieces of this thing back, and a great sickness hit the people in the village, and they were dying as their hair fell out and their hair turned gray, and they had great blisters on their skin. And you know what that sounds like. And they buried the pieces of this device outside the village. And I know precisely where this village is, so on our next trip over there, that's on my laundry list.
Well, hold on here a second. Your next trip over. So this is one of the projects you're working on now through your Center for Physical Trace Research, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so it's what we call Project Moonshaft. And real quickly, in 1944, during World War II, a Czech engineer who was a captain in the Slavic Underground Army, his battalion was wiped out with the exception of he and two of his men, and they were all wounded. And they were at the north slopes of the High Tatra Mountains in northern Slovakia. And they were left for dead by the Germans. And a Slavic farmer found them and treated their wounds and built a stretcher, and took them 4 hours hiking up into the high mountains to a small opening to a much larger cave. And the cave is huge, and it's a very complex cavern. And the Slavic gentleman asked Dr. Hurok, who was the Czech engineer, to please not go back in his cave because there was dangerous gas, bottomless pits, and it was surely haunted. And then he performed the holy rites over himself, over the men, and over the cave, and especially over a passageway that continued on back. And so as soon as Slavic left the cave, which the entrance he had always concealed with stones, and as soon as he left, Hurok shouldered his rifle and carbide light and some ropes and went back into the cave, primarily because he hadn't eaten for 4 days, and he suspected he might find some bats. And after traveling just about 2 miles back into this cavern, he came upon a long level corridor. And at the end of this corridor was a crawlway. And as he crawled through it, it opens up into a very large room. And across the room, he could see a large expanse of a shiny black material. And this black material was framed by stalactites, flowstone, limestone formations, which had adhered to the outer surface of this wall. And there was a crack running down the front of the wall. And at the point where the crack reached the floor of the cavern, it looked large enough for Tony to wriggle through it. And his diary, which is on the website, he maintained all through World War II. And it's the most fascinating description of his entry into this thing and the cave itself and so on. And as he finally managed to wriggle through this, he could see that this was the outer wall of a huge structure, and the wall was 7 feet thick. And as he got through it, he rolled down an incline of limestone deposit until he hit the back wall of this structure. And he got his carbide light going, and this place was like an enormous shaft that went almost straight up. It was about 16 degrees off vertical, and it was shaped like a sort of fat crescent moon, and he called it then the moon shaft.
And That's what you're looking for this thing?
Yes.
Or do you know where it is?
Yes.
I'm going to have to go to Slovakia with you. I imagine you get a lot of volunteers for that, don't you?
Oh, absolutely we do, yeah. But we just got the funds to go back. This will be my third trip, and this time